So in this lesson, we are going to cover rhythm, how to create it, why it's important, how it can affect your horse in a good way, like creating rhythm helps them, and why inconsistent rhythm can cause problems. So this horse here is Fire, and this was one of my beginning sessions with her. And in the beginning, I just focus on getting motion. And you can see she's like pretty confused and not quite sure what I'm asking. So in the beginning, you just have to have consistent go forward. If you do not have that, then you cannot start creating rhythm. I want you to take note of kind of how she's holding her body as she's moving around me. You can see she's got her head up, she's looking around, she keeps bumping into the end of the rope, she's confused, she's a little nervous. Okay, and as we keep going, she's going to start finding the rhythm in her body, and what that will do is as she starts finding rhythm, she will be able to start relaxing all of her muscles and begin carrying herself more correctly and become more in tune with me. So as she's moving here, you can see she still had her head up. She's still bracing a lot with her pull. She has a lot of hollowing out in her back as she's moving. And she has no consistency in her rhythm. There's nothing consistent about it. And this is kind of what you will see when you first start. So when I'm first starting working with them, if they start moving consistently like she was there, I'll kind of change directions or stop and pet them a little bit. But when she keeps stopping like this, I'm just going to keep sending her forward. And we're just looking to get more consistent at this point. Lots of halting. So I'm just using a regular dressage whip here, and she's on a halter, and that is, I think, a 12-foot lead. So I don't like going into a lunge line with this because it's too long and too much, and you're going to be fumbling with it. And when you're doing this, you're really going to want to be walking with them with a little bit of space between you and your horse. So there she started getting into a little bit more consistency, and that's where I stopped and said, good job. Just kind of give her a second to breathe. And this is like when you're starting from scratch, the horse doesn't know how to move around you, that kind of thing. You kind of have to start here and just get consistent forward motion before you can really start creating an actual rhythm in their steps. Rhythm is the foundation for all of your finishing work, your more upper level movements, when you get into lateral movement, when you get into jumping, when you get into weaving in and out of trees and stuff. If you can create rhythm in their body, then you can create a lot more relaxation. You can start teaching collection, and they start responding more consistently, staying focused on you better. And you can see if she gets distracted and hesitant when I am moving her around here. See, she's got her ear on me. She's doing really well right now. But if she gets distracted and starts freezing up or paying attention to other things, instead of pulling on her face, I'm going to just send her forward. So like right here, she started getting a little distracted. She started trying to halt a little bit. I'm just going to keep sending her forward. And I have another horse that I'm going to show you in a minute that's kind of a little bit different than Fire. And Fire tends tends to freeze up when she gets uncomfortable, and the other horse tends to move out more. So you'll get to see the difference here in a second. But you can see as Fire keeps moving around and she starts getting a little bit more consistent in her motion, you see how her posture starts to change, and she starts to reach down more with her neck. She's starting to use her shoulders a little bit better. This is the beginning step of being able to change their posture and teaching them how to carry themselves better. If you don't have rhythm, you are not going to have anything else, whether it be good consistent steering, collection, jumping, anything when you get down to it. If you do not have rhythm, that is where it all starts to fall apart. So when I'm doing in-hand work, this is where I really start, is teaching them how to start moving in a nice, rhythmic, relaxed way. And when I'm creating this rhythm, I begin with allowing them to find what is the most comfortable speed for them. So some of them will be kind of slow, some of them will be faster, but I really want them to find just whatever's comfortable for them, and they can get consistently in without having to pull or push them a lot. So there she got a little fast, no big deal. So as she starts realizing, oh, you're sending me around, she's going to try and speed up a little bit. She's going to try and figure it out. And she's going to realize that's not really what I'm asking. You should be able to set a metronome to your horse's footfalls and keep consistent and have them keep consistent. And when you can do that at whatever speed they're comfortable, then you can start playing around with changing up speed. So you can see Fire's still like really jerky and she has no idea. So she's going to have a lot more work before she will be able to actually become consistent. So there she goes into her little gait. I'm not going to pull on her. I'm just going to move with her. And she's going to come back down. When you start pulling on the head, you throw their body out of alignment. And if their body is twisted and contorted, there's no way they can have a consistent rhythm. But the rhythm should be consistent with each footfall. So it should be a 1, 2, 3, 4 count. And you should be able to count that. And if you can't, then there is tension in the body somewhere. It could be a lameness issue. So this is a really good way to watch and see if a horse is lame. If there isn't a consistent 1, 2, 3, 4 rhythm and you can set a metronome to it, there's something going on, whether it's just physical tension, they don't know how to carry themselves, they're crooked, or they're lame. And in Fire's case, she's just a baby and she has no clue how to keep herself in a consistent rhythm. And like I said, this is where we just start with our in-hand work after we've done grooming and all of that. We just start moving around and learning how to be consistent in our motion before I get into any riding. So right here, this walk is kind of where Fire tends to find it most comfortable. And when she gets a little fast, you can see she puts up her head. So as she gets comfortable in her favorite speed, that's where I start playing all around with, all right, now I'm going to pick a faster rhythm, and you're going to stay in that faster rhythm, and we're going to learn how to be nice and relaxed in that faster speed. It might just be a fast walk. You might go up into a trot or a gait, but you gain rhythm in that gait or that speed. And then you can go slower too. And that's where you start teaching them speed control and creating rhythm in the speed control. So this is Dusty. And Dusty, you can see she's already pulling a bit more on the rope Dusty has kind of an abuse history, so she is really sensitive and kind of tries to avoid work. And again, this is closer to the beginning of her time with me before we were really doing any of the riding work. So she has had a few more sessions at this session of this recording than Fire had at that point of the recording. So you can see it's easier for Dusty to fall into a rhythm. And you can see there, she puts her head up, she's bracing, she's locking up her body. And as she falls into a nice consistent rhythm, she's reaching downward, she's lifting through her shoulders, she's going to be able to use her back better. Her hind end is going to be able to loosen. And if you pay attention to her rhythm, you can see that she has a little bit of inconsistency in her footfall. So right here, she speeds up. I'm not going to pull on her. I'm just going to let her find the right answer, which is nice relaxed walk is what I'm looking for. So if you count her steps in her rhythm, you can see that she tends to be a little bit off stride. And this is a tension in her body from she has had lots of fear and she's very locked up in her body. And she tends to counterbend going to the right here. So because of that, she has created tightness in other places of her body, including the hind end. And that's what is in part creating the inconsistent footfalls. But right there you can see through rhythm those inconsistencies. So trying out new horses, I always pay attention to the rhythm of the footfall to check out lamenesses before you ever get a vet out to do a vet check. And creating rhythm when you have a horse that's getting into rehab or rebuilding muscle, bringing them back into work after time off, creating that nice rhythm in their body is going to help all the muscles and all parts of the horse just relax and find consistency where they're not overutilizing one side or the other. So you're really looking for each leg to have the exact same stride length and the exact same speed that they're swinging it forward and dropping it. Because if you don't have that, then you have inconsistent rhythm, and that's how you can tell. So you can see she just falls into a nice rhythm here. This is where her nice comfortable rhythm is, and you can see as she's doing this, she's getting nice relaxed movement through her body. Her back is starting to swing. She's not so tense in her back. She's going to be using her core better. And this work I have used a lot with Dusty as we progressed from this video, not just here on the ground, but under saddle, creating a nice quiet rhythm under saddle and allowing them to stretch and move their body and relax and find that consistency helps them not only physically stretch and move and help their body relax, but mentally they find comfort in that rhythm. And if you can create that rhythm without the pulling and the pushing, then you can have a very relaxed horse mentally and physically. So you saw her stick her head up there. I just send her forward. I'm not pulling on the lead rope. If she gets a little sluggish, I'm going to send her forward. And this work has really helped Dusty find that movement in her body, find the relaxation mentally. And this again is the very first step when you want to get into any sort of collection work, finishing work, advancing beyond just stop and go and turning left and right. If you don't have rhythm, everything else becomes way more difficult. So a lot of people like to match steps with the horse when they're doing this. I don't really worry about that. I just kind of move at the same speed as them. And I just pay attention to, are they consistent in their footfall? And if they're not, I just try to help them get there. If they keep slowing up, if they keep speeding up. And you can see with Dusty here, I was starting to introduce turns with movement and not just stopping her feet entirely. So as the horse gets more comfortable, I start introducing that turn and try to keep the consistent rhythm through the turn. And this starts helping them when you get into the riding work of keeping nice consistent turns while you're riding them, and learning how to turn with their shoulder and not fishtail so much where it throws their body out of alignment. And that was a really nice turn with Dusty right there. And there you go. If you have any questions, send me your videos and shoot them my way.